You're listening to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast with Mike Chappell and Dave Griffiths.
Hello and welcome to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. I'm Matt Adams with a game recap, and boy, this is a rough one. The Colts now 4-4 after losing 23-20 to AFC South rival Houston, and this one happened at NRG Stadium to the Texans. And my goodness, this was a game that the Colts needed to win. This is a game that the Colts needed to play better in. They needed to put their best foot forward, and they did none of those things this week against Houston. And I probably the most frustrating thing about this game, and there were many of them, I will try not to rant, but I will talk about some of the things from this game that were disappointing, and a lot of it obviously will trace back to the quarterback play, because you do feel like the Colts right now, as constructed, competent quarterback play away from winning this game. We're not talking about somebody to set the world on fire. We're talking about NFL football basics 101 competent quarterback play. That's somebody who can complete more than 50% of their passes. That's someone who can pick up a first down on a 3rd and 5 with a 6 or 7 yard pass. We're talking about a quarterback who, decides not to throw a ball into zone coverage when backed up near your own end zone right before halftime to just hand the other team a touchdown. So I guess I will start off with a little bit of a rant, even though that wasn't necessarily my intention. But my point is, with a little bit of cleaned up play here, and even if you don't have that turnover, or if you have that turnover if you did not give that ball up at the end of the half, let's say the Colts, at that point, I think the Texans had all 3 of their timeouts. So let's say the Colts can't pick up a first down. They punt the ball. Let's say they give up a field goal before halftime. Much, much less damage than that touchdown. At that point, it's a 10-10 game. You cannot turn that ball over there. I understand that last week, when in a similar situation, the Colts were able to rip a long pass and get into field goal range. And that was a very, very valuable score at that point in the game. But you also have to understand game flow, and it just was not there this week. So Anthony Richardson, 10 of 32, 175 yards, touchdown, interception. Did lose a fumble at the end of the game. That was on the Hail Mary that never got hailed, I guess. They didn't even get a pass off there. Jonathan Taylor, 20 carries, 105 yards, touchdown. Josh Downs, on 9 targets, he had 4 catches, 109 yards, had the long touchdown. Looked like he had a second touchdown too, but they ruled that he was just short of the goal line on that one when he came down, and so the ball did not cross the plane, so he did not get a touchdown for that one. DeForest Buckner, Dio Odengbo, each had a sack, and you can tell the difference with the defense and the pass rush when you get DeForest Buckner back, even though it seemed, it looked like he was on a little bit of a pitch count there. -1 in turnovers for the Colts this week. They had the interception. They did recover the fumble from the Texans to kind of give themselves some life at the end of the game there. But then they had the other turnover, but that came, basically at the whistle there. But this team has been pretty good in turnover margin this year for the most part, but they were on the minus side of things this time. And no surprise for anybody who's watching the Indianapolis Colts game this year. Texans won in time of possession, 35-20 to 24-40. And again, the Colts were the worst time of possession team in the league, and I think the Texans were second, maybe in top 5. I think they were second in time of possession this season, because that is a team that can control the ball, because they can run the football, and then they also have a quarterback who can hit those layups that are just so important to sustaining drives. And, you get into the 3rd and 7, you can get 8 yards and that sort of thing. Sometimes you're in a 2nd and 19, and you're still able to convert because of C.J. Stroud. Now, and he's doing that behind a porous offensive line. The Colts only had the 2 sacks this week. That does mean free McNuggets for everyone, those of you who celebrate. But they hurried C.J. Stroud a lot. They got a lot of pressure on him. And, a lesser quarterback probably gets sacked 6 or 7 times in this game because the Colts got to him. They got to him often. They had guys in his face. Just a simple line twist the Texans couldn't seem to pick that up. It was like the 2022 Indianapolis Colts when that offensive line had such a bad season. Just a simple thing like a twist would get some interior pressure on the Texans defense or on the Texans offensive line, and the Colts would be able to get into C.J. Stroud's face. They did some things to try to mitigate that, did a little bit of rollout stuff, try to move that pocket a little bit. They went to a short passing game for a bit, which was effective, and then they went away from it, and then Stroud was running for his life again. So, nothing, the defense didn't play a perfect game. Still a few times when they let Joe Mixon pop a run where, he got, 5 or 6 more yards than he probably should have. But, that guy's a pretty good running back. So, and it was definitely a better performance than what we saw against Mixon in week 1. He kind of did his... In week 1, it was just like this constant presence of Joe Mixon touching the ball every time. In this game, it was really kind of just the defense wore down a little bit in that second half, and that's when, in the third and fourth quarters really where Mixon, and he's that type of running back, but that's when he really got the bulk of his yardage was there. It felt like anyway in the second half of that game. So the Colts really had one big play in this one. It was a 69-yard touchdown pass to Josh Downs. They ran sort of a rub route concept or where the two receivers were both running drag routes, and the Texans defender just kind of got caught up on his own guy as Michael Pittman was coming across, created sort of this natural pick, and then Richardson delivered a nice ball to Downs, and he just outran the defense after that for a touchdown. And those are the kind of big plays that we've kind of been used to seeing from the Colts. That's kind of their offense right now. Sometimes it's a little bit of a grind run game, and then you hit a big pass, and it's not been what you would like to be from the Colts as far as consistency goes. 2 of 13 on third down. Richardson was sacked 5 times in this game, and that Texans defensive front is pretty fierce with Danielle Hunter, and you've got, of course, Will Anderson Jr. in there. It's a pretty good front, and they consistently got pressure on the Colts. They got some interior pressure on Indy at times, and I really think that we don't usually have to mention Bernhard Raimann in the game because he usually does a really good job off the edge there, but he really struggled this week, and probably it's one of those things we talk about on the podcast with Chap and Dave. It's like when you're the offensive lineman, like you can play 9 out of 10 plays great, but that 1 out of 10 play that you don't play great on ends up being like a sack or a sack strip, or allows the other team to get to the quarterback. And that's kind of where Raimann was this week. A couple of times where he did not hold up great were very, very noticeable, and it blew up some plays for the Colts in the passing game. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Colts dropped a lot of passes and that's why Anthony Richardson's completion percentage was so bad, but the Colts did drop a couple. Tyler Goodson had a touchdown pass, couldn't corral it. And I do think early in the game it looked like the Colts had maybe a little bit of rhythm perhaps going in that passing game because Richardson found some guys, but I think he delivers the ball just like a split second too late, and it's just enough time for the defensive back to get there. And so he had like 3 passes early in the game that were, knocked down by the Texans before, as they got to the Colts receivers. We had Will Mallory get one batted out of its hands. We had Pittman get one batted out of its hands. There was another one he kind of threw up to Mo Alley Cox that, the Texans were able to get their hands on as well. And I think if Richardson had that throw over, you get that ball up a little bit higher because Mo Alley Cox is a big guy. He can get up there and throw it. And then, probably end of the first quarter, midway through the second quarter, the Colts offense basically just became, we're going to throw the ball downfield and see if we can complete a pass. And not a high percentage chance of those being completed, and not able to find, an Alec Pierce or anything like that in this game. A.D. Mitchell had a chance to corral one in the end zone, was not able to catch it. He could not toe tap it to get the second foot down. And, I hate to hammer on it, but it was, to me, the real turning point in this game. I think the Colts, as poorly as they played on the offensive side of the ball, I think the Colts could have won this game if they had not turned that ball over at the end of the first half. You're looking at about 20, 30 seconds left. The Colts kind of want to get a first down, and the reason they want to get a first down is that they can, go into halftime tied, or if they can pop a big play down the middle, and maybe they can replicate what they did last week at the end of the half and steal some points, get a field goal. And they were coming on where they were having the ball at the beginning of the second half because the Texans won the toss and decided to take the ball to start the game. Well, it's okay. You can be aggressive, but also you got to be smart about things. In the first throw that Richardson had on that drive, nearly got picked off, and it would have been a pick six if the defensive back had been able to gather it. So on this next throw that Richardson had, they went empty backfield, which he motioned Tyler Goodson out. So they went empty backfield on this play, which is a pretty good hint that you're probably going to throw the ball, although I thought maybe they might try some sort of quarterback power, quarterback draw, or something like that. He said in his post-game conference, his post-game media availability, that he thought they were going to be in man and that he would have a good chance to hit Josh Downs on that play. Well, guess what? The Texans were not in man. They were zone. They sat back. When Richardson tried to rip that ball in there wasn't much of a window, and the Texans easily picked that ball off, and then it led to a late touchdown. So instead of being 10-10 and going into the locker room, or maybe worst case scenario in your mind is maybe 13-10 because the Colts are unable to convert that third down. Texans use some timeouts. They get downfield and get a late field goal, maybe 13-10. Instead, it's 17-10. And in a game, in a team where you're offensively challenged, you're behind the 8 ball there. And I don't understand. I understand the aggressive mentality. And that is the thing that Shane Steichen does. That is the thing that as Colts fans we have to live with. But you also have got to be smart about these things, and you've got to know where your quarterback flow is. And Anthony Richardson this game did not have it from a passing standpoint. And to try to force him to pass in that situation when you could easily just give the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, get stuff for a yard loss or whatever, that's fine. That's not a turnover. Or you have Richardson do a little QB power off the right or the left edge, something along those lines. Something that's a little bit safer than, empty backfield, try to throw the ball in, force it in when you're near your own end zone. Not a great look, not a great decision. I know that Steichen is going to tell you that we're trying to be aggressive. We did that last week against the Dolphins. It worked for us at that point. That's what he's going to say, and we were trying to replicate that. We're just not going to sit here and waste plays. Well, you know what? You turned the ball over to the other team, and it completely turned this game around, because if you don't do that, if you don't give up that touchdown, there's a good probability that you win this game, or at least, and they still only lost by 3 points despite that, because they were able to put together another drive. But you know what? Instead of me sitting here and talking, let's hear from Coach Shane Steichen.
Injury update. The only thing I got for you guys right now is Dembo has a knee. So ready when you guys are.
Shane, just what are your big takeaways offensively? Just in general,
Disappointed, really more than anything. We had, those P&10s, didn't really get anything going. Third down wasn't great. We were stalling there a lot. I think we had 3 and outs in a row. I got to be better for the guys. And in the second half, we finally started to get some things going. But, we had 2 turnovers there. Didn't win the turnover battle. It was disappointing.
Did Anthony get hurt when he came out for a play?
No, he needed a breather. He ran 3 times in a row, and it was 3rd and long. And so we were going to hand the ball off.
10 for 31 or something like that. There's mitigating circumstances, surely, but where do you go from here with him? What is next? What can you get him on track?
Yeah, we keep working through the process. It's a process. We keep grinding through it. We do it together. It's a team game. We grind through those things, and we get it figured out.
I know your general philosophy is to throw to score, but when he's going through some of these struggles, do you feel like, are you putting too much on him early in the game to have him go that much?
I don't know. I mean, we hit the big one early, to go up 10-3, and so it was going good. I think, too, we had a few drops there, early. But yeah, we got to keep working through it. I mean, came out in the second half, ran the ball there pretty good, but obviously wasn't good enough at the end of the day.
How do you think the balance goes passing and throwing wise in that first half?
I don't know. I'll go back and look at it, but I thought it was all right. I mean, it wasn't ideal. I mean, I guess it wasn't all right. It wasn't ideal. But again, we're going to work through that thing and get it figured out.
What are your takeaways from the defense? They gave you 2 opportunities there.
Yeah, heck yeah. I thought our defense played really good, really good. Obviously, we put them in a tough hole there at the end of half, but they played really good, obviously, to get the turnover back right there to give us a chance. And then, we didn't do much with it, and then they gave it to us back again there at the end. Those guys were fighting and scratching and crawling like crazy.
A lot of pressure in Anthony's face today, it felt like. Did you have any takeaways on that? Was that just, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit there. I'll look back at it. But, yeah, there's a little bit there. But I thought he did a good job of getting out of some of that stuff. I mean, he did a hell of a job. He avoided some sacks there, made some big plays with his legs. So, yeah.
Shane, on the pick from Anthony, can you explain just the decision to throw there late in the second half or second quarter?
Well, I think right there we're trying to be, go score at the end of half is what it is. We're trying to go score just like we did the week before when we threw a chunk play and got it. And that was a decision I was made, and I know it's a results-driven league, and it didn't work out.
When Anthony is struggling, can sometimes just some rhythm throws get him going? Or I don't know, how do you get a guy going when he's kind of going through a rough patch like that? Is he kind of streaky that way?
I don't know. I think you got to find. Yeah, it's my job to find ways to do that, and I got to be better in that regard going forward to get him going.
What did you sense for him just coming out in the second half, Anthony?
What'd you say?
What did you sense for him just coming out in the second half?
He was upbeat. I mean, shoot, obviously, right there at the end of the half, it was 17-10. We're right in the game. We got the ball to start the second half. Obviously, went down, did some good things moving the ball, but obviously didn't finish there at the end. Shoot, he stayed upbeat the whole time, had a positive attitude through the whole thing for sure.
Different kind of game for Josh Downs, where he's so explosive but fewer catches. So just what do you think of the game he had? Was it hard to get him more catches just because they playing him a certain way or anything?
Yeah, no, I thought he had a good game. He hit the big one for the touchdown there, and then obviously we had the third down one where he hit down to the 1, which was close, obviously, to being a touchdown. He did some good things. I think, what do you have, 4 for over 100 or something? Some games are like that, but his yak was huge.
You think of JT's return, the jolt he gave y'all?
It's huge. Anytime you get a superstar player like that back, it's going to help your offense. He had some big runs in the game.
What did it mean to get DeForest back out there, and what did you see from him today?
It's huge to get a guy like that back. He's one of the best players in the league. Obviously, he's a dominant threat for our defensive line, and I thought he did a hell of a job there.
Shane, what gives you confidence that Anthony can figure this out? Because it is, quite frankly, rough right now.
Yeah, we got to just keep working through it. He's got a good work ethic. He grinds through these things, man. It's a process. We do it together. So I say this thing is together. This ain't about one guy. This is about the team, and it's always going to be about the team.
That was head coach Shane Steichen talking about the Colts' 23-20 loss to the Houston Texans. This is a killer of a game. AFC South matchup drops the Colts again to 4-4. They're 1-3 in the division. And essentially now, Houston has a 3-game lead on the Colts in the division because they've got to get up into the standings to tie the Texans to win the division, and then they have to finish a game better than the Texans in the standings. So it is a game that if the Colts wanted to get into the postseason, if they wanted to win the division, they had to have. Texans have some deficiencies, for sure. This is a team that cannot protect its quarterback, and that is going to come back to get them at some point in this season. But, it was a squeaker of a game, but then again, every single game the Colts have played this year has been a one-score game. And you know what? They're 4-4. Which means this is a 500 mediocre football team. And until they can start putting together some offensive consistency, that is how this season is going to go, and I don't see any way around it. Now, one thing that Shane Steichen said is, this isn't just about one player. This is about the team, and that's in response to a question about the quarterback play. Because if you look at the numbers there from Anthony Richardson, 10 of 32 in this game, with that killer interception at the end of the half. If you just had unsteady, unremarkable quarterback play from any other player in this league on Sunday, then the Indianapolis Colts probably win this one. Usually there is something, even when the Colts lose with Richardson in there this season, there's usually some sort of play that you can point to or something that he does that you can go and say, well, I see the potential there. I see why they wanted this guy. I see why he's, they've put all chips in on him being their quarterback and all of that. This week, hard to see that. The strength of his game is, kind of improvising, making plays, throwing the ball downfield, and really did not see much of that this week. They don't want him to carry the ball 15 to 20 times a game. He's not a running back, right? He's a quarterback. You don't want him to take, that much punishment. But he was kind of running for his life a little bit this week. Could not connect on those downfield throws, and then of course intermediate stuff. Just the accuracy and the time. Sometimes the accuracy is there, but the timing's not. And that was the case. And then he had guys in his face all game, and I understand that. But again, if you've got Flacco in there, maybe he does get sacked 6 or 7 times in this game. Maybe he gets sacked more than that because of Richardson's mobility. But I also do feel that you are going to get a third down conversion before the second half at some point because there's too many 3-and-outs. And the Colts with Richardson have sort of lived by this 3-and-outs. Oh, then we hit a big play. And they did hit the big play to downs. They had a decent drive where they scored their touchdown, but that was very heavily Jonathan Taylor influenced on that drive, which is good. You should use him. He's a great running back, and you should give him the ball as much as you can. But what the Colts are doing, and we said it before on this very podcast, it's the title of one of our episodes, not sustainable. It's just not a sustainable thing that we're seeing. So while Steichen says, this is all about the team, we got a bunch of players on the field, everybody's accountable, as he all talks about that, I would argue that Richardson held the team back this week. And really, we've seen some deficiencies, we've seen some shortcomings from him this season, but I really feel like this game it was pronounced, and it cost them the game this week. Just some poor play. We saw some bad decision-making. I go back to, the guy's got a lot of confidence in his arm. We'll just say that. He thought he could fit that ball in there in that zone coverage to get his Josh Downs, but ended up being intercepted. And, if the play is not there, just take off and run or throw it away. And I know it's very easy to say from your couch, but the decision-making, the inability to complete passes on a consistent basis or sustain drives is really, really frustrating. It makes it tough to watch. Look, we knew it was going to be a process this season. This has been the Anthony Richardson development season. We all knew that. And we all know that you're going to hit peaks and valleys, and maybe this is the valley of the season here. And we knew it was going to be a process, but my question is he getting better? Is he any better in this game than he was in the first game of the season? And I feel like there's been some regression, but then again, the league is getting tape now on Richardson because he's been able to play on a fairly consistent basis. And they know his limitations. And they can take certain things away that his athleticism isn't necessarily being able to make up for. Then there was a drive, of course, where Flacco did come into the game because Richardson had run the ball a handful of times and apparently got tired. I'm not going to begrudge a guy. I mean, you get hit in the side, you get the air knocked out of you. Joe Mixon did the same thing earlier in the game. He took kind of a weird hit. I think he got the wind knocked out of him, and he needed to go over to the sideline. But it's unusual that you would have the quarterback kind of tap himself out there. But, they brought in Flacco. He handed the ball off. It was a very, very professional handoff. And then, took, I think, a field goal on that drive. But, it was rough. And then, Richardson was able to spike the ball, apparently, in order to preserve 1 second for a Hail Mary pass, and then was not able to get the Hail Mary pass off. Tried to buy time, but, he's just kind of run around, and the Texans rushed, more than 2 guys. And so he was not able to even get the ball off, ended up getting sacked. The ball was fumbled, and then the Texans recovered it. So that's kind of how the game ended, and it's kind of a microcosm of how things have gone so far. On the season, Richardson is 59 of 133. That is 44.4% of his passes complete, 958 yards, 4 TDs, 7 interceptions, and 9 sacks. I'm just going to point out Joe Flacco, completing 65.7% of his passes with 7 touchdowns and an interception, and he can complete passes on third down when you need them to on occasion. Now, do I think the Colts are going to go away from Richardson? I don't really think that they will, but it's definitely worth having the conversation because, I have seen flashes from Richardson. You've heard about it on the podcast. I've talked about it. Dave's talked about it. Mike's talked about it. We have seen flashes, but the consistency is simply not there. And I really do feel like this week especially, last week they were kind of able to overcome it against a very poor Miami team that they knocked out their backup quarterback because Tua couldn't play. And, they were able to feast on Tyler Huntley and Tim Boyle. And they were able to overcome those things. But against, an actual NFL offense playing an actual NFL team with a lot of its pieces in place, the Colts just couldn't overcome those deficiencies this week. But you know what? I've talked enough. Let's hear from Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson.
Can you explain just you subbing out when you hurt, you injured, you tired?
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there that I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, just told Sam I just needed a break right there.
The play at the end, they got pressure on you, ready to get to you. Just looking back at that, is there anything else you wish you had done a little differently?
Wish I would have, bought some more time right there. I saw they overloaded the right side, and I was trying to, buy some time going left so the receivers could get down the field, but they got on me pretty quick, so I was just trying to, get the ball to, the running back right there so he could, try to make some space and just make a move. But, probably buy some more time. That's probably what I wish I would have done more.
Looked like a lot of deep shots you were trying in that first half. Was that what the defense was giving you at the time? Was it scratching?
It was opportunities. We knew that they were going to try to take away some of the deep shots like one high, but they played us in man. So we like our matchups. We like our receivers to get open. We just got to execute at the end of the day. But we felt like they gave us the opportunity to take advantage of certain things. We tried it, but just execution got to come down better at the end of the game.
Is it tough then when you don't complete those and the offense just isn't really getting in rhythm? Is it tough to come back and try to get in rhythm?
Not necessarily, because like I said, execution. We know that was an opportunity right there. You got to take advantage of every opportunity that the other team gives you, because you're not gonna get those opportunities every time. So really just got to just execute and just take advantage of it.
Anthony, I know this is very meaningful to you. When you don't have success individually or as a team, how are you kind of dealing with that, processing that right now?
It hurts, man. You don't want to lose, bro, especially not in the division, not in this league. You don't want to lose, so it definitely hurts, taking those L's. But you learn from, it's nothing but a lesson. We know what we got to clean up. Execution got to be top tier for us. We just got to play better.
It's been a roller coaster because you got hurt, there's been some ups and downs on the field. Have you seen growth? Do you feel like you're growing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm, trusting my teammates more. I'm trusting, the game, letting the game come to me. I feel like I'm playing within the game, making plays and just doing what I'm supposed to do. But, like I said, at the end of the day, execution got to be better, from both ends. That's whether from me delivering the ball to the wideouts, and them catching it. We just got to execute at the end of the day because we know what we can do. We just got to do it.
Okay, we know you're still quite early in your career. It's only been 10 starts.
Yeah.
But just, as you look at yourself, where do you feel like you are as a passer? How have you been progressing?
I feel like I'm a great passer. I've been playing quarterback pretty much my whole life. I'm just a different quarterback from everybody else, so people are going to try to point out that I'm not as efficient as everybody else, but, it's cool to me. I run the ball way better than every other quarterback, probably not Lamar, but than most quarterbacks. So, I take advantage of my opportunities. I just use my powers to the best of my ability, and when I am delivering the ball, I feel good about it, and when I'm running it, I feel good about it as well.
That drive where you had the pass to downs, it almost was a touchdown. You kind of felt like on that drive you got in a rhythm, you hit some throws over the middle, just what went right?
I just feel like we executed. We already had all the shots. We had all the opportunities, to just go out there and just play. That drive was just a good drive right there. JD made a great catch at the end of the drive, and JT finished it off. So it's just execution right there. Man, we were looking for a certain look right there, and then they didn't really give us that look. So I killed the play. I checked it, and then they just played a good zone right there, and JD was pretty much my only target right there, and I thought I was able to fit it in there, but the nickel just did a great job of just jumping under it. So got to give some props to him.
Anthony, you're the last guy off the field at halftime. I saw you just tapping your chest and giving guys fist bumps.
Why did you choose to do that? What do you hope that actions like that kind of do?
You know, I don't really like hope it does anything. You know, I'm just letting my squad know that I'm still in it. You know, regardless of what happened in the first half. You know, we didn't really do our best right there, but so what? You know, it was the first half. The first half was there. I told the guys at halftime, like, don't even worry about the first half. Let's go out here and execute in the second half and just be better.
You talk about being a different type of quarterback and being a great runner. Is that something maybe you can lean into more just to add more plays right now?
Maybe, you know, if the opportunity presents itself, you know, and Shane in the offense believes that, you know, that's what we should start leaning more towards too, then I'm definitely going to take advantage of it. But if they feel confident with our ability to keep taking shots, you know, I'm down with that as well.
I mean, we're confident in the passing, and obviously I wouldn't doubt that, but when you look at some of these numbers and just not, I guess, succeeding at the rate that you want to, what gives you confidence you can still grow in that aspect?
Because I could play, you know, I could play football. You know, I've been doing it my whole life. You know, I don't necessarily look at numbers. You know, they said Vic didn't have a great, you know, completion percentage his first couple of years, you know, and he's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it. So I don't necessarily look at numbers, you know. I just look at each play, you know, for itself because, you know, I don't have the ability to control every single thing that happen every play. You know, I can only control what I can control, and I'm just trying to do my part out there. So if my numbers are low, man, they just low. I just got to pick them up, and I just got to play better.
At the end of the game, defense gave you 2 opportunities.
Yeah, for sure.
It's frustrating that they did their job. You guys couldn't do yours.
Yeah, man, it hurts, bro. Like, the defense, they be playing, you know, balls to the wall, man. Excuse me for saying that, but, you know, they be playing great. You know, they be doing their thing, and they gave us 2 opportunities right there, you know, take advantage of the game and, you know, just go win it. But, you know, we didn't do that to the best of our ability. So, you know, we just gotta, you know, execute next time.
What do you need to get Jonathan Taylor back, and what do you feel like? Do you feel like there's another level of this offense when you do have him out there?
No, it feels good seeing JT out there because, man, as you can see, he gets the ball in his hand, he make it work, he makes some plays. But just having, you know, all of the playmakers in the game, just, you know, just making plays. Like when JT goes out, you got Goody and Trey coming in right there. They make plays as well. You know, the wide out swapping as well, and the tight ends be swapping. So anybody that's on the field, we're expecting them to make plays, and JT be doing that.
What do you think is like fair to, as a quarterback, obviously everything isn't on you, but how much do you think is fair to shoulder for yourself in losses like these and things like that?
Man, you got to take it, you know, like a grain of salt. Because, you know, people are going to say it's my fault. You know, I definitely could have played better today. You know, I definitely could have delivered the ball better. Definitely could have made some better checks. You know, I could have played better. So I definitely understand that. Even when we play well and we win the game, they're going to say AR was the main reason we won. So you just got to be able to take both sides of it, you know, the wins and the losses. So I'm just steady trying to grow and just keep being better.
Josh Downs, I mean, do you feel like he's pretty explosive today? Is that something you guys can continue to build on to get more of those big plays?
Yeah, for sure. But we more so want to get everybody involved as well because, you know, there's opportunities. You know, like I said, when JD's out there eating, you know, I'm delivering him the ball. You know, some teams are going to start doubling him. So that gives everybody else an opportunity to get open and just make some plays. So you got to take advantage of it when everybody else is out there, you know, and they just giving us the go balls and the quick slants and all that. You got to take advantage of it. But, man, shout out JD for just making some plays out there.
So that was Anthony Richardson talking about the Colts and their 23-20 loss to the Houston Texans. And, I mean, listen, I'm glad the guy has confidence in himself. I'm glad he's got confidence in his ability to throw the ball. It has not manifested itself yet in a positive way on a consistent basis in the NFL, on the NFL level yet. We're all waiting. We'll still wait. We'll continue to wait. And hopefully some of this stuff will materialize and we'll see Richardson, you know, thrive in this league for years to come. But right now, what the Colts have to do is lean on their run game, give Richardson some designed runs out there, and dial up those long shots. You know he loves them. And to be honest, they have hit their fair number this year. But it did feel like in this game, it was just, at one point, it was just like, okay, Anthony, just take the ball and throw it as far as you can. And that's not going to be the recipe for a successful offense. Well, again, 4-4 on the season. The Indianapolis Colts, that drops into 1-3 in the AFC South. They'll have games, I believe, against the Titans and the Jaguars. That'll finish off the divisional slate. And the Texans are right in the driver's seat here. And even if the Colts had beaten the Texans this week, I think the Texans, by virtue of divisional record, would have still had the tiebreaker. But it would have been they wouldn't have had the stranglehold that they now have on the division with them having beaten the Colts twice. Up next, the Colts will head to Minnesota. And a few years ago, they were at Minnesota. They blew a 33-0 lead. I think we all remember that glorious day. So they will go to Minnesota next week. This will be a Sunday night football game. So that'll be an 8:20 kickoff, late kickoff on NBC and Peacock for those of you who need to stream it. Maybe you don't get the local NBC affiliate very well on antenna or what have you. And, they flexed this game last week. And then I was joking with one of my colleagues this morning whether or not they can unflex it. Just this one page statement after from the NFL, just basically saying, well, after further consideration, we have decided to revert to the previously scheduled game. But no, that'll be fine. Hopefully the Colts in front of a primetime audience on a road game against a good Minnesota team, maybe they can surprise us. Because certainly we could all use it, I think, for those of us who are Colts fans. Well, Dave and Mike will have a preview of that game. They'll offer their thoughts on the debacle in Houston during a podcast episode a little bit later this week. But this has been a game recap for the Colts Blue Zone podcast. I'm Matt Adams.